Hey, Pastor Josh here. We're reading Leviticus chapter 27, verses 1 through 34, and this is the last reading, the book of Leviticus. Tomorrow we will begin First Peter. Here's what we see here. Everything is the Lord's. Everything is God's. And we're going to have some rules here in the last chapter of Leviticus about vows, about agreements made with the Lord, especially in light of all of the uh, warnings that were given in chapter 26 about what would happen if you do not fulfill your ultimate vow in obeying the Lord. Here are some stipulations about how to make a vow and how to dedicate things to the Lord. At the end of the day, we know that everything is the Lord's, but there are certain things and there are certain times that we give ourselves of especially to his service and to his work. And you've probably experienced that in your life, maybe an intense time of Bible study and in attention, or working on a particular area of your life, or perhaps serving in a way in the church. Intense times like VBS or Upward Basketball, or different seasons in your life. You're giving the Lord a little bit more than you normally would. That would kind of be a vow that you are making. So let's read these laws here about vows in particular, remembering as we read these that everything is the Lord's. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the people of Israel and say to them, if anyone makes a special vow." Notice too, this is on the heels of all the warnings that's going to happen to Israel if they don't listen to the Lord. But if anyone makes a special vow involving the valuations of persons, then the valuation of a male from 20 years old up to 60 years old shall be 50 shekels of silver according to the shekel of the sanctuary. If you remember back when we were reading through the book of Acts, at the end of the book, the Apostle Paul was making a vow, and he paid for some individuals that were making a vow in the temple. This would be the rules that they would be following. This is how they came to the amount that should be offered. And Paul, to show that he still believed in that good old religion, believed in everything that Judaism stood for. And of course, Paul believed that Jesus was the fulfillment of everything that Judaism stood for. In order to make peace with those Jewish Christians, Jewish believers that had become Christians, he then pays the vows for people. And so this would be the laws that they would have followed. If the person is a female, the valuation shall be 30 shekels. If the person is from 5 years old to 20 years old, the valuation shall be a male 20 shekels. As for a female, 10 shekels. If the person is from a month old up to 5 years old, the valuation shall be for a male 5 shekels of silver, and for a female, the valuation shall be 3 shekels of silver. And if the person is 60 years old or over, then the valuation for a male shall be 15 shekels, and for a female, 10 shekels. And if someone is too poor to pay the valuation, then he shall be made to stand before the priest, and the priest shall value him. The priest shall value him according to what the vower can afford. If it's just too much, then the priest will say, well, here's how much you should pay in order to make this vow. Because there is a sacrifice that we give when we serve the Lord. When we have dedicated ourselves to a particular task, there is time that we must give up. Sometimes it is money that we give up because we have to buy certain resources or do this or that. And there is definitely skills that we use that we could use for ourselves to take care of our own house or other things, and that we use those skills for the furtherance of the church, the furtherance of the kingdom. So there is a sacrifice that is made of time, talent, and treasure. If the vow is an animal that may be offered as an offering to the Lord, all of it that he gives to the Lord is holy. The whole animal must be sacrificed. He shall not exchange it or make a substitute for it, good or bad for good. And if he does in fact substitute one animal for another, then both it and the substitute shall be holy. And if it is any unclean animal that may not be offered as an offering to the Lord, then he shall stand the animal before the priest, and the priest shall value it as either good or bad. And the priest values it, so it shall be. But if he wishes to redeem it, he shall add a fifth to the valuation. So if you change your mind about it, then you got to add a fifth of its value to get it back and to kind of square yourself out from the vow. When a man dedicates his house as a holy gift to the Lord, the priest shall value it as either good or bad. As the priest values it, so shall it stand. And if the donor wishes to redeem his house, he shall add a fifth of the valuation price, and it shall be his. Again, thinking everything is, of course, the Lord's already, and it's up to him, right? And as we think and decide how we are to allocate all the things that we have. And don't you think, if you are a believer in Jesus Christ, if you are going to spend eternity with him, don't you think he wants you to invest in the work of the church, to invest in the proclamation of the gospel, that you would use your time, treasures, and talents to further this great message. Make a vow unto the Lord. Verse 16. If a man dedicates to the Lord part of the land that is his possession, the valuation shall be in proportion to its seed. How much value is it going to make? That however much crop they would end up making, then it would be in proportion to it. A homer of barley seed shall be valued at 50 shekels of silver. So we're going to give us some numbers here. If you dedicate his field from the year of Jubilee, remember we've looked at that whole thing. So it's kind of prorating calculation going on. The valuation shall stand. But if he dedicates his field after the Jubilee, then the priest shall calculate the price according to the years that remain till the year of Jubilee, and a dedication shall be made from the valuation. And if he who dedicates the field wishes to redeem it, then he shall add a fifth of its valuation price and shall remain his. But if he does not wish to redeem the field, or if he has sold the field to another man, it shall not be redeemed any more. But the field, when it is released in the Jubilee, shall what? Be a holy gift to the Lord, like a field that has been devoted. It's all his. The priest shall be in possession of it. So it's now the priest's. If he dedicates to the Lord a field that he has bought, which is not a part of his possession, then the priest shall calculate the amount of the valuation for it up to the year of Jubilee, and the man shall give the valuation on that day as a holy gift to the Lord. In the year of Jubilee, the field shall return to him from whom it was bought, to whom the land belongs as a possession. Every valuation shall be according to the shekel of sanctuary. 20 gerahs shall make a shekel. So shekel is going to be a unique monetary amount, a unique coin that is only for the sanctuary. So you'd bring all kind of foreign currencies and you would exchange them for the sanctuary shekel. That then became an issue in Jesus's day when he came in there and the money changers were happening. And what was happening, these money changers were actually not being honest with how much the shekel is worth in response to what they're bringing, especially on those high priestly days. Suddenly the rate would go up. A shekel isn't worth as much as it is because you would have to change your money to the shekel in order to purchase animals or whatnot, because a lot of times they would be traveling to Jerusalem to sacrifice animals. You're not going to bring your bull all the way from Galilee and bring them all the way down. You'd have to buy a bull there in Jerusalem. You'd have to buy it with a shekel. And so you'd have to change the money. So the money changers were making a lot of money in this situation. Firstborn of animals, which as a firstborn belongs to the Lord, no man may dedicate. So it doesn't matter. You can't dedicate the firstborn because it's already the Lord's. Whether ox or sheep, it is the Lord's. And if an unclean animal, then he shall buy it back at the valuation, add a fifth to it. Or if it is not redeemed, it shall be sold at the valuation. But no devoted thing that a man devotes to the Lord, of anything that he has, whether man or beast, or of his inherited field, shall be sold or redeemed. Every devoted thing is most holy to the Lord. So if you devoted it, it's the Lord's. No one devoted who is to be devoted for destruction from mankind shall be ransomed. That's going to be language that's really going to be used in Joshua when they are taking over the land, that we are told that the people of Canaan are devoted to destruction. Every tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the trees, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. If a man wishes to redeem some of his tithe, he shall add a fifth to it. And every tithe of the herds and flocks, every 10th animal of all that pass under the herdsman's staff shall be holy to the Lord. One shall not differentiate between good or bad, neither shall he make a substitute for it. If he does substitute for it, then both it and the substitute shall be holy. It shall not be redeemed. These are the commandments the Lord commanded Moses for the people of Israel on Mount Sinai. So my question for you is, everything is the Lord's. What is it that you are supposed to dedicate particularly for the proclamation of the gospel, for the furtherance of the church, for missionaries that are on the field, and for the gospel to go strong all throughout our community and all throughout the Lord, all throughout the world? I pray that's been a blessing to you. Looking forward to starting 1 Peter tomorrow. May God bless you, and I'll see you all in the next video.